My name is Muna, and today I'm going to tell you a story that begins inside a hospital, where a mother died, not because her time had come, but because the people who were supposed to save her were too busy loving each other. Inside room 214 of Green Valley Medical Center, a 72-year-old woman, Mrs. Eleanor Hayes, was struggling to breathe. Her oxygen mask slipped slightly from her face as she pressed the emergency call button again and again. But no one came. Down the hallway, behind a closed supply room door, Dr. Daniel Carter and Nurse Lily Brooks were together, laughing softly, completely unaware that a life was slipping away just meters from them. 2 months earlier, the hospital was normal: clean corridors, busy doctors, focused nurses. Dr. Carter was respected, trusted by everyone. Lily Brooks had just joined the night shift. At first, everything was professional: short conversations, polite smiles. But night shifts are long, and loneliness changes people. Coffee breaks turned into long talks turned into secret meetings, and soon professionalism turned into something dangerous, something hidden. One cold night, Mrs. Hayes was brought in by ambulance. She was weak, pale, struggling to breathe. In her hand, she held a small photo of her son, Michael Hayes, a retired detective who trusted this hospital completely. Dr. Carter admitted her quickly to room 214. He gave instructions: monitor her, check every 30 minutes. But his mind was somewhere else. Nurse Lily's phone vibrated shortly after. A message from Dr. Carter: meet me in the supply room at midnight. She smiled, without realizing that smile would soon cost a life. Midnight arrived. The hospital became silent. Empty corridors, dim lights, no footsteps. In room 214, Mrs. Hayes was alone. Her breathing became slower, harder, painful. She pressed the call button. A soft beep echoed at the nurse station, but no one came. Because in the supply room, Dr. Carter and Lily had forgotten everything: time, duty, responsibility, even the patient. They were together, laughing, talking, lost in their own world. Back in room 214, Mrs. Hayes gasped. Her oxygen tube slipped loose. Her chest tightened. She pressed the call button again. Harder this time, desperate. The heart monitor beeped faster, then slower, then weaker. Her fingers trembled as she looked at the photo of her son. Michael, her last thought, his name. And then silence. At 3:17 a.m., another nurse entered the room and froze. Mrs. Hayes was gone. Cold. Still. The oxygen tube disconnected. The call light still blinking. That morning, Michael Hayes arrived at the hospital carrying white lilies, his mother's favorite flowers. He smiled as he walked in, until a nurse approached him with tears in her eyes. I'm sorry, she whispered. Michael stopped. What happened to my mother? No one answered properly. And in that moment, something inside him changed forever. Later, while signing paperwork, Michael noticed something strange in her file. A missing 45-minute gap. No nurse visits, no doctor checks, nothing. Michael was not just a son. He was a retired detective. And he knew one thing immediately. This was not a natural death. This was negligence. And someone was lying. That night, Michael requested the security footage from the hospital. The staff hesitated, which confirmed his suspicion even more. In the security room, he watched the black and white video. At 12:08 a.m., Dr. Carter and Nurse Lily walked together toward the supply room. Laughing, calm, careless. They entered, closed the door, and stayed inside for 45 minutes. 45 minutes. The same time his mother was dying alone. Michael stopped the footage. His face was calm, but his eyes were no longer the eyes of a grieving son. They were the eyes of a detective. That evening, Dr. Carter sat in his office, nervous, sweating. Nurse Lily sat across from him, trembling. Do you think he saw everything? She whispered. I don't. No, Carter said slowly. But if he checks the cameras, we're finished. Meanwhile, Michael sat in his car outside the hospital, holding the copied footage. He watched it again. And again. Then he whispered to himself. This is just the beginning. Because Michael Hayes did not believe in quick revenge. He believed in perfect revenge. And from that moment, the hospital would never be the same again. Michael sat in his car outside the hospital, holding the copied security footage in his hand. The small device looked ordinary, almost harmless, but inside it was the last hours of his mother's life. He watched the same moments again, not because he doubted them, but because his mind was trying to accept what his heart refused to believe. Dr. Carter walking calmly. Nurse Lily smiling. The supply room door closing. The long silence. The empty hallway. The blinking emergency light outside room 214. Each second felt heavier than the last. Michael slowly leaned back in the seat. His breathing was controlled, but his eyes were fixed on the hospital building in front of him. People were still moving inside. Doctors still walking. Nurses still talking. A normal hospital on the surface. But for him, it was no longer a hospital. It was a place where his mother had been left to die. He turned off the screen and sat in silence for a long moment. Then he spoke quietly to himself. 45 minutes. His fingers tightened around the steering wheel. That's all it took. He didn't move immediately. Instead, he started thinking like he used to in his detective days. Not emotionally. Not as a son. But as someone trained to see patterns that he replayed everything in his mind. The timestamps. The movements. The behavior of staff. The gap in the records. The hesitation of the receptionist when he asked for footage. The nervous eyes of the nurse. There was more to this. There always is. Michael started the car and drove slowly away from the hospital, but he didn't go home. He went somewhere. Quieter. A small office he used to work in years ago, now mostly unused, filled with old case files and memories he had left behind after retirement. He turned on a desk lamp and placed the footage device in front of him. Then he opened his laptop and began creating a timeline. 12:08 a.m. Dr. Carter and Nurse Lily enter supply room. 12:53 a.m. they exit. 12:08 to 12:53. No medical attention to room 214. 1:02 a.m. Patient call light stops. Michael paused. That last detail was important. He opened another file. Hospital policy records. Emergency response protocols. Staff schedules. Everything said the same thing. A critical patient like his mother should have been monitored continuously. Any call light should trigger immediate response. Maximum delay allowed. A few minutes, not nearly an hour. This was not just negligence. This was violation of procedure. He leaned back slowly. Too many failures at the same time, he whispered. That meant one thing. This was not an accident caused by distraction alone. Something deeper was involved. Cover-up. Or habit. Or both. Michael stood up and walked to a wall covered in old investigation boards from his past cases. He stared at them for a long time, then took a marker and drew a small circle in the center of a clean board. Inside it he wrote, Green Valley Medical Center. Below it, 2 names. Dr. Daniel Carter. Nurse Lily Brooks. He stopped for a moment, then added a 3rd line. Hospital administration. Because someone above them also knew. Someone always knows. His phone suddenly rang. Unknown number. He stared at it for a few seconds, then answered. A nervous male voice came through. Mr. Hayes. Michael didn't respond immediately. The voice continued. I shouldn't be calling you. But I saw what happened. Michael's eyes narrowed slightly. I work in the billing department, the voice said quickly. I saw your mother's file, and the timing issue you mentioned. It's not the first time something like this has happened. In that unit. Michael's grip tightened. How many times? He asked calmly. There was a pause on the other end. At least 3 similar incidents in the past year. Michael didn't speak for a moment. 3 incidents. Same unit. Same kind of delay. Same system. Not random anymore. Pattern. Why are you telling me this? Michael asked. The voice lowered. Because they always make it disappear. Reports get corrected. Records get adjusted. Families are paid off quietly. But this time, I think they're scared of you. The call ended abruptly. Michael slowly placed the phone down. Now everything was clearer. This was not just about one doctor and one nurse. This was about a system that protected them. A system that erased mistakes. A system that allowed people to die quietly and move on like nothing happened. Michael exhaled slowly. Then he began typing again. This time, a different kind of investigation started. He searched for staff records. shift patterns, overlapping schedules, supply room access logs, security blind spots. Hours passed. Outside, the city lights dimmed. Inside the office, Michael's mind stayed sharp. At one point he stopped. Something stood out. Dr. Carter had a pattern of being assigned to night shifts on certain dates. Nurse Lily was always present on those same shifts. And on those same nights, incident reports in that hospital were unusually higher. Not always deaths, but unexplained complications. Delayed responses. Unclear causes. Michael closed his laptop slowly. "This is not random," he said again more firmly. Then he stood up. The next step was clear. He needed proof that no one could erase. CCTV backups. Full access logs. Internal communication records. But getting them legally would take time. And time was something his mother did not have. He looked at the clock. Late night. The hospital would be quieter now. Fewer staff. Less attention. He picked up his coat. And left. Back at Green Valley Medical Center, Dr. Carter was still in his office, unable to sleep. Nurse Lily was with him again, pacing nervously. "He hasn't called," Lily said. "That's worse," Carter replied. "Silence means he's planning something." Lily stopped walking. "What if he goes to administration?" Carter shook his head slowly. "Administration will protect itself first. But if he finds something solid, real evidence." He didn't finish the sentence. Because both of them already knew what it meant. Their careers would end. Maybe more than that. A knock came at the door. Both of them froze. Another knock. Slow. Deliberate. Carter slowly walked to the door and opened it slightly. A hospital security officer stood there. "Dr. Carter," he said. "There's someone in the restricted records room." Carter's face changed instantly. "Who?" The officer hesitated. "A civilian. Michael Hayes." Silence dropped into the room like a stone. Lily stepped back. Carter's eyes widened slightly. "He's inside right now?" The officer nodded. Carter closed his eyes for a second, then opened them again. "This is no longer just a complaint," he said quietly. "He's building a case." And at that exact moment, inside the hospital records room, Michael Hayes stood in front of a locked cabinet, examining access logs he had managed to obtain through a temporary security breach. Line after line of entries. Altered records. Edited timestamps. Deleted incident reports. He stared at them without emotion. Then he whispered, "You didn't just make a mistake. You built a system for it." And slowly, for the first time since his mother died, Michael smiled again. Not as a son. Not as a grieving man. But as someone who now had a direction. And a target. And outside the room, the hospital security alarm quietly began to beep. Because someone had finally noticed that the truth had entered the building. And it was not leaving quietly. Michael stood inside the records room as the alarm continued to beep softly in the background. Red lights flickered outside the glass walls, and footsteps started moving down the corridor. Security was coming closer. But he didn't panic. He calmly copied the last set of files into his device, closed the cabinet, and stepped back just before the door opened. 2 security guards entered quickly. "Sir, step away from the files," one of them said sharply. Michael raised his hands slightly, calm and controlled. "I'm not here to destroy anything," he said. "I'm here to retrieve what was already destroyed." The guards looked confused. Before they could react further, the hospital administrator arrived behind them, breathing heavily. "Mr. Hayes, please, this is a restricted area," the administrator said nervously. Michael turned slowly toward him. "My mother died in this hospital," he said quietly. "And your records show you already know this system has failed before." Silence fell instantly. Even the guards looked uncertain now. Michael continued, "I have copies of altered reports, deleted incidents, and CCTV proof. If you want me to leave peacefully, then you will allow me one meeting. Right now." The administrator hesitated. He knew this was not an ordinary grieving family anymore. This was evidence. Real evidence. "Fine," he finally said. In the hospital conference room, Dr. Carter and Nurse Lily were already present. Their faces were tense, pale and restless. When Michael walked in, both of them immediately avoided eye contact. Michael placed a small device on the table and connected it to the screen. The CCTV footage appeared. 12:08 a.m. them entering the supply room. 12:53 a.m. them leaving. 1:02 a.m. call light stopping. No one in room 214. Nurse Lily's hands started shaking. This doesn't show everything," she whispered. Michael looked at her. "No," he said. "It shows exactly enough." Dr. Carter suddenly spoke, trying to control the situation. "This is a misunderstanding. We were on duty. We followed protocol." Michael turned another file on the screen. Then another. Then another. Each one showing missing logs, edited timestamps, and previous patient complaints from the same unit. "This is not one mistake," Michael said. "This is a pattern." The room went silent again. The administrator looked down. Even he could no longer defend it. Lily suddenly broke down. "I didn't think she was in danger," she said quickly. "We were just gone for a short time." Michael's voice dropped. 45 minutes, he said. "My mother pressed the emergency button during that time. How short is that to you?" Lily had no answer. Dr. Carter stood up suddenly. "This is being exaggerated," he said loudly. "People die in hospitals every day." Michael interrupted him calmly. "Not alone," he said. "Not because the staff were too busy in a supply room." Silence again. This time heavier. Final. Michael pressed a button on his device. A recorded audio file played. It was hospital internal communication. Voices of staff discussing record adjustments and incident control procedures. The administrator's face changed instantly, because now it was no longer just negligence. It was cover-up. And cover-up meant law. Dr. Carter slowly sat down again. His confidence was gone now. Lily was crying silently. Michael looked at both of them. "I am not here for anger," he said. "I am here for truth." 2 days later, the hospital became the center of investigation. News channels gathered outside. Police entered the building. Files were seized. Staff were questioned. Dr. Carter was suspended immediately. Nurse Lily was taken in for formal inquiry. And Michael? He stood outside the hospital quietly, watching everything unfold. A reporter approached him. "Mr. Hayes, do you want justice?" Michael looked at the hospital building for a long moment. Then he answered softly. "Justice is already happening. But it won't bring my mother back." He turned away. Weeks later, court proceedings began. Evidence was undeniable. CCTV footage, altered records, internal messages, previous complaints that had been ignored. The hospital administration tried to defend itself, but the pattern was too clear, too repeated, too real. Dr. Carter lost his medical license. Criminal charges were filed. Nurse Lily received legal consequences for negligence and misconduct. The hospital was forced into major reform investigation. But for Michael, none of it felt like victory. One evening, he returned to his mother's house. He placed the white lilies on her table, the same flowers he had carried that day. He sat quietly in her empty room. No anger now. No investigation. Only silence. And then he spoke softly. "I found the truth, Mom. But I still wish I had found it sooner." Outside, the wind moved gently through the trees. The world continued as always. But for Michael Hayes, something inside him had changed forever. Not revenge. Not satisfaction. Just acceptance. And a permanent silence where his mother's voice used to be. If you watched till the end, you already know this wasn't just a story. It was a warning. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon. Because here we bring you stories that will shock you every single time. And tell me in the comments, do you think Michael did the right thing? Or should he have done something more? See you in the next story. But remember, every hospital has secrets.